All right, well, we're still getting along here, but that might all change after this next conversation. This is probably one of the most controversial and contentious issues that you can talk about on a show like this. Whether women should have to receive an ultrasound or sonogram within the first trimester before they get an abortion. Here in the state of Florida, you already have to have a sonogram in the second or third trimester. But should women be forced to look at a baby before making a decision on whether they terminate that pregnancy? So let's get started. Chris, I am assuming that you would vote in favor of this bill if it were to come to a vote.
I'm a co-sponsor of it, but let me correct something you just said there. Nothing in this law requires somebody to look at the ultrasound. It does require them to have the option to look at the ultrasound, and they have to opt out of looking at the ultrasound. But the language in the bill, has passed last year and this year, has permissive language where if someone doesn't want to, they're not required to. There's no statutory obligation to that.
I stand corrected. You would have to actually sign something that you didn't want to.
Yes.
And then where does that piece of paper go?
I assume with the other medical records. I don't think the language in the bill says very clearly that somebody has to, if they don't wish to view the ultrasound, they just have to sign something to that effect, and that's that.
Yeah, but where's that thing? After they sign it, where does it go? What is it?
Medical records.
Medical records.
It goes into medical records, and then it's just in their medical record. Okay. So what is the point of the bill? What is the ultimate point of this bill?
Well, number one, I think patient safety is always a good thing. As you mentioned, in the second and third terms, second and third trimesters, you are required to get this. This expands it to the first. It also provides the opportunity to the mother to actually get a chance, if she so chooses, only if she chooses, to actually look at the ultrasound, to get some feeling for what is growing inside of her. And if she chooses not to, it provides for the opt-out on that one. But it does offer an expanded, this is not about limiting choice, it's about offering more informed choices. And that's really what the purpose behind the legislation is.
I think that it is for self-proclaimed conservatives to impose yet another layer of regulatory requirement and insert themselves between women and their doctors is really disingenuous.
Do you question whether it would be intimidating?
That's very fair.
Look, this is an irreversible, permanent surgical procedure that is fraught with medical, physical, psychological complications.
And a matter of constitutional choice of a woman.
That's right. She should have the choice to see it.
And you're putting additional pressure on the woman.
You're limiting her choices. We're giving her more choices.
Listen, every presidential race I've seen, President Clinton, President Obama, all of them during their campaign say, listen, while we respect the right to choose, we'd like to make abortion as rare as possible in America.
Safe, legal, and rare.
Safe, legal, and rare. What about this does not make it more safe, more legal, or more rare? The bottom line is you have this procedure, which you have to have in your second or third trimester anyway, and then you have the choice to say, listen, I want to see it or I don't want to see it.
Listen to a description of what's on the sonogram, even if they don't view it, as I understand it.
First of all, I don't believe that to be accurate.
Well, we can take a look at the text of the bill. They can opt out of viewing it, but nonetheless, as I've read the proposed legislation.
Listen, there is absolutely nothing in this legislation that compels them to listen to anything in that regard. And I can assure you that these clinics and hospitals and anybody else who participates in that, if they're dealing with somebody who is a victim of rape, incest, or human trafficking, would be sensitive to that. And there's nothing in here that statutorily removes that. All we're saying, I mean, please bring the argument back to what the legislation actually says. And that is that, like in your second and third trimester, you have to get an ultrasound in your first trimester, which does have, and I'm not a doctor, I can't speak to the health benefits, but I am told by some there could be some potential good there. And if there's not, okay. But the fact is, if you don't want to see the ultrasound, sign your signature, and you don't have to.
We didn't talk really about the dichotomy that I see and the disingenuous nature of a conservative Republican who has made a career out of keeping government out of your business. And now you are championing putting the government in the business in the first trimester.
I can assure you that throughout my political career, I've always espoused as one of my top values that of protecting human life. I've never been bashful about this. It's been on basically every mail piece or other piece of political communication I've ever had. This, in my mind, again, we are asking the citizens of Florida to have the option to have an informed choice. And we're not in any way in this legislation doing anything else. And I think it is disingenuous for you to suggest that somehow this is stripping away this, in conflict with it. We all the time in the legislature ask people to make informed choices about their insurance, informed choices about their mortgages, informed choices about their whatever business they're in, the regulation. All this is doing is adding the potential to make it, to rare, legal, and safe. I mean, that's what we're doing here. I think it's very compatible with what everybody's saying.
This is a surrogate for the ongoing abortion controversy, much like the Terry Schiavo controversy was a couple of years ago, and much
But
like
you all
that.
are not disputing the fact that this is a pro-life bill.
It is absolutely
You're
positively.
not trying to hide the fact that you're trying to keep women from having abortions.
To be clear, I very much am a pro-life individual. I believe it's part of my
So you are legislative. You are legislating morality.
No,
You're not denying that.
Not in this legislation. I don't believe we are. What we are doing, just focus on what the bill actually does. Don't take it out. Look at what the legislation says. It says that right now, in the second and third trimesters, you have to do it. If you review the various websites, according to these talking points across the state of Florida for abortion providers, many of them already provide first term ultrasounds. All we're saying is that in order to make the most informed choice possible, it should be an option available to a young mother. And just to be clear, there is language in this bill that says that if you provide certain documentation, you will be able to, that you've been raped or that you're a victim of incest or human trafficking, that you will be able to opt out of this. You will not have to go through that. It is part of the legislation, and it's a very well contemplated, put together piece of legislation that is very respectful of that. But it allows for a more informed choice. That's what it does, and that's what we care about.
John, you get the final word.
The abortion industry is lying to millions of women, telling them it's a blob of flesh. The ultrasound tells the truth about what's going on. It's not a duck. It's not a Buick. It's a little baby, and it helps them to see that.
But you're not disagreeing that you are legislating what you believe are your moral beliefs. If you were
Every
actually
law
legislating.
imposes a moral standard or values. The only question is whose values are they going to be?
All right, that's a very good point there. All right, that's it. That's all the time we have. We're going to talk about cigarettes another time. And that's it for Flashpoint. Have a great week, everyone. See you next Sunday. Tell your friends.